Hey there, Canonites! Welcome back to another episode of Halo Canon, a very special one, as today I am joined by none other than Covenant Canon himself, Nakai Vodar. Say hi.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And before we get into the main point of this video, I gotta say something about this guy. When Halo Escalation came out, I was like the only guy doing Halo comics, and really that's what kind of blew my channel up, and for a lot, where a lot of people that currently follow me and still regularly view shit jumped on. Then, of course, Halo Rise of Atriox came about after a slew of disappointing other comics, and Nakai here decided, hey, I'm going to cover some comics too. And, I thought, okay, it's cool, get some competition, and I'm going to like to see how he approaches this stuff. And then I saw his first review, and he just, like an asshole, blew my shit out of the water with production value. I am serious, dude. I'm serious. You came in, you did everything I did, and then took it up to 11. You added the sound effects, the weapons, the background noise, the species. Oh, I can't even imagine just the levels of work that puts in, and especially with the speed that you get them out in.
Oh yeah.
To say I'm jealous is an understatement, and so would to say that I am impressed. I am beyond impressed. I don't have words for that, dude. You took what I started and made it amazing. So, props to you and all you guys watching. If you haven't heard of him, or if you have and you've seen him and you aren't subscribed, or haven't seen him and you're not subscribed, if you're not subscribed, basically, go subscribe to him. I think I'm gonna try and put a thing up in the video, like a card up at the top right. If not, there'll be a link in the description box, because this guy deserves your sub. Not just for the Halo Rise of Atriox comic reviews, but everything he does has some amazing production quality. So just want to get that out of the way and really promote this guy because he deserves it.
Thank you very much.
Now, on to the main point of this video, where we are going to talk about Halo Rise of Atriox in depth. All the issues from 1 through 5 and our final thoughts. So, let's jump in first with with Rise of Atriox issue 1. This one got us, basically introduced us to the character of Atriox. It was written by Cullen Bunn and Claire Rowe. I thought overall they did pretty good.
Well, I think it was really good. I really enjoyed the art piece. I really enjoyed the story. I just wish they kind of added more on Atriox's story, pretty much. But it wasn't much directed towards him as the main character, but he was the main focus.
Yeah. So it's like he's the main focus, not necessarily the main character. And really the point of it wasn't so much to introduce us to his character. That would be more issue 2. But to introduce us to the world he inhabits, to the situations he finds himself in. The art I thought was amazing. What did you think of that?
Oh, I think it was fantastic. It reminded me so much of the Halo 2 graphic novel.
Yeah, it did in a lot of ways. And actually, the artist was Claire Rowe. I'm sorry to have misgendered you. She did. I'm trying to remember what it's called now, from Halo Tales from Subspace. The one where the ship was stranded after Cortana launches the Guardians. But I'm drawing a blank right now, but she was the one who illustrated that, and thus issue 1 of Rise of Atriox, and she did an amazing job in both. The art style just really fits, especially it's got that real gritty feel that gets you makes you feel like you're in the shit with those Marines who are getting clobbered by brutes. But, we get to see what it means to be in Atriox's world. You get to see him being dropped with his brothers 40 at a time and against Marines, just to, basically just throwing them at the wall and seeing what sticks, seeing what dies, really, but you get it.
And seeing them just slaughtered.
Oh my God,
slaughtered by
Dude,
humans.
that countdown, when they're like, how many Marines are left? They're doing the countdown at the end. Oh my God, just...
Oh, it was just fantastic.
Yes, extremely. And then, of course, Atriox, the lone survivor, as he would be until he decided to rebel later on.
Oh, yeah.
So it was overall a strong issue to start with. there definitely could have been better points. I think we'll both agree. But
Oh, yeah.
still showed you right away that this comic is not fucking around. We are not getting another initiation, another end of escalation, or middle of escalation. We're not getting another Tales from Slip Space with its, which, you know, it had its good points, it had its bad points. We're getting something solid. And we'll
definitely.
see as we continue that the rest of the issues definitely delivered. So, anything else you want to say about this first issue?
I just have to say I really like that they brought in the Halo 2 brutes into this issue rather than the Halo... Like, recently, 343 has been using the Halo 3 models for their recent media. Say, for example, Halo Mythos with Macubius and his pact. But it's really great to see that we now see the Halo 2 anniversary brutes appearing in this issue.
Yeah, like I personally would have liked to see, given that they did appear in this issue, I would have liked to see Atriox a little less armored. Just like to, because I always like to think that he had built up that armor over time. But you know what? It's a minor complaint. And honestly, we were talking about this when we were doing prep for this video. His involvement with the blood, was it the Blood Stars?
Yes, it was the Blood Stars.
Yeah, like another brute group that they get into in Halo Revelation that Atriox was a part of. So we kind of figured that the armor might have been a leftover from his time with them. But yeah. So I think that's everything for issue 1. Moving on from there, we jump into issue 2, which was written by Jody Hauser and drawn by Hosan Gonzalez, I'm sure, if my memory of my Spanish classes from high school serves. And this one, of course, is the Rebellion. Atriox rising up and killing the Executioner and defecting from the Covenant. Which, you know, when this issue was first announced, I was really worried that it was just going to be a rehash of the cutscene from Halo Wars 2, you know, and nothing else. But I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't.
Oh yeah, it was nowhere near a rehash in this issue.
Yeah, like it was like only like the last few pages that really covered it.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, continue.
Yeah, it was just, I just have to say I really loved the Executioner. He pretty much embodied the deceit of the Covenant, and it really gets you to explain why Atriox is so disillusioned with this empire. It's so disillusioned with his... He really shows why it gives you more of a sympathy as to why Atriox left the Covenant.
Indeed, especially after the help from that first issue, where you actually got to see the circumstances he was put in. Now, we had a couple notes that we wanted to talk about with this issue. First of which, I think we'll start with setting. I mean, it's impossible to tell when any of these comics are set, just because none of them have dates. But looking, I don't know, personally, I kind of felt that this issue was probably set around 2550, and that Atriox's rebellion was late in the war.
Yeah, considering the fact that the planet that Atriox is on at the time is Algois. Now, if you guys don't remember, Algois is the planet from the Halo Legends story, the Prototype.
And also made a brief appearance in Midnight in the Heart of Midlothian.
Oh yeah, that too. So that battle was set like late in the war, like 2548 to 2552.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Yeah, so which means that Atriox's rebellion began pretty late in the war.
Yep. And I definitely love that Algolis showed up like that. I was like, it's a nice little hint about when things could have taken place without 343 having to definitively nail down a date. And it's just a fun Easter egg, because personally I love Prototype. That's one of my favorites in Halo Legends. And Midnight in the Heart of Midlothian is definitely another of my favorites from Halo Evolution, so just seeing it again was a lot of fun. So, anything else to add on this subject?
Yes. I wish we could have had more of a detailed look on the Executioner, like, say, for example, his name, his rank.
Oh, yes, that too.
Yes, and I have a theory on that he could be a First Blade officer, considering the fact that all the brutes in the brutes in the Covenant base there were no Sangheili except for the Executioners, which could mean that he could be a First Blade officer serving in the Covenant, which could indicate that the brutes in this issue could be Bloodstars, which is in my opinion. And which in the color of the Executioner's armor could symbolize a sort of leadership role in the Covenant military, as we've seen in Artas Vadum, in the Shipmaster from the Return, and later the Letvalier in issue 4.
Yep, who has solid silver whitish armor. Which in my own video review of that's issue 4, mind you, compared to the Counselor armor, which has that same kind of tint in a lot of ways. As actually did, as you brought up, checking my notes here, Arkad Narkulul had that same color armor. So he wasn't a Supreme Commander, but a Fleet Master. Am I correct in that?
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah. So, again, we're jumping ahead a bit, but so there's definitely that theory that it seems to be associated with high leadership, but not quite supreme leadership or field master leadership that we see with gold-colored elites. So high, but not that high, but not as high as Sangheili can go.
Oh yeah.
Right. Another thing to talk about, which you brought up, was the appearance of the Covenant Eye that was spying on Atriox's battle. Cool little Easter egg. Remind me, where did we first see one of those?
We saw them in Broken Circle, as they were used as... they were first developed by the San Shayum during the War of Beginnings, right. and later during the Covenant during its inception.
Right. Awesome. Cool. So I think we hit... Yeah, so overall another good issue, good art, that really fit, that again had that very gritty feel to it that really kind of brought you in. And it gave us some extra details about the events surrounding Atriox's rebellion, or initial rebellion, and yeah. So, and again, it wasn't a rehash of the cutscene from Halo Wars 2, which I am incredibly happy about. I can't express that enough.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. Anything else to add on issue 3? Or sorry, issue 2?
No, I think we got that covered.
Excellent. All right, moving on, we come to issue 3. This was written by John Jackson Miller and drawn by Jonathan Wayshak. Both contributed stories and art to Halo Tales from Slipspace, respectively. John Jackson Miller wrote an excellent story in there. I think it was again the one with where the ship was stranded after the created uprising, but don't quote me on that right now. And John Jackson Miller got, unfortunately for his beautiful art, he got the less than satisfying, to be nice, Blue Team story. But again, his art stood out really, really beautifully. I said at the time, I hope that he gets the chance to show his art in a better story, and here we definitely see that.
Oh yeah, the art for this issue was just beautiful. It was just one of the best in the whole series, next to issue 5, which we'll go over later. Indeed.
So a few points. So the basic story here is that Decimus is sent to find a Kigyar, a Tavawan Kigyar specifically named Sigron, to basically help the banished get a foot on the ground, get a foothold in the universe. Get some extra technology, some extra weapons, maybe whatever she could potentially provide. And first off, I love that we got a female Kigyar, a female Tavawan specifically, since we haven't actually seen that. We've heard about it, but we haven't actually literally seen that. Like, they've appeared in the fiction, but not been depicted in the fiction.
Yeah, we've never seen any clear indication of any Tavawan Kigyar, like in any like sort of comic or like in
visual media. Yeah. So prior to that, we'd gotten the Ibieshin in Halo Escalation, but that was about it as far as visualizations. So Sigron was a very interesting character. Smart skirmisher, that developed a very interesting piece of technology, if you want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, she developed a device that could mimic the pheromone signatures of a Yan Meye queen, which begs the question: how did she develop such a device? Which I have a theory about. Maybe she ventured to the Yan Meye homeworld to study the queens, or maybe she studied the queens when they attended a hierarch ceremony during, or say for example, Truth, Mercy, and Regrets Ascension ceremony.
The Covenant's final hierarchs. Yeah, she definitely would have had the chance then.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And there might have been other ways too that we're not specifically thinking of now, but it'd be interesting to learn how she got a hold of that. One thing to talk about was her interesting armor. So, correct me if I'm wrong here. She had the champion's armor, did she not?
Yes, she did. She had champion's armor.
Yep. But she also had what looked either to be a cybernetic eye or some kind of eye enhancement. Not necessarily a cybernetic implant, but something you just kind of put over your eye. But it does bring up the question about, was that cybernetic, and if so, what exactly is the Covenant's policy on cybernetics? Like, generally we don't see them, and the Sangheili would very obviously not discard them altogether, I think.
Yeah, they would heavily frown upon that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you dishonored yourself, and you're just replacing the limb?
Yeah, well, granted, these are the Kig-Yar, and they're more...
Yes, the Kig-Yar would be much more open to that. For example, this whole thing, when we were discussing it initially, reminded me of Hunters in the Dark, when we see the medical bay on Mayhem, because the Sangheili there basically say, oh, this isn't for us, this was for the Kig-Yar, or other species if they needed it.
Oh yeah, so which brings to question that the Kig-Yar use cybernetic enhancement or any other medical instruments like the humans do.
Yeah. Like, we've definitely seen that the Covenant are open to enhancing themselves, specifically with the prelates, the Sunshine prelates that we see in I'm drawing a blank. Halo Shadow of Intent. There we go. But do other species do that other than humans? It'd be interesting to know. I could definitely see Kig-Yar, either sanctioned or not, doing such a thing.
Oh yeah, me too.
So next up on our list of things to discuss, the Plasma Caster and Storm Rifle appear. Now, this could definitely be late in the war, though it feels like it's supposed to be set not too long after the events on Algolis. But it could be later in the war. As you said, they might be prototypes of those weapons or very early versions that, just because they were released so late in the war, never got cataloged by the UNSC.
Oh yeah, they could have been like earlier prototypes developed by Sangheili armories or something, and Atriox may have raided a few vessels and procured them.
Oh yes, absolutely. I think that's about as much as we can talk about with that, though it's definitely an interesting Easter egg.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a very small thing that caught our eyes, but I thought it'd be worth sharing.
Well, I'll be fair, your eyes. I honestly didn't notice until he pointed this out again in our pre-video briefing. But anyway, another interesting thing to talk about was the appearance of Chainbreaker. Now, personally, I was kind of disappointed that it just so suddenly appeared. There was no build-up. It's Atriox's signature weapon. It's literally the icon of the icon of the Banished. If you look at Chainbreaker when activated from above, it would make the Banished symbol. And then it just appears with no fanfare.
So, I have a theory on the origins of Chainbreaker. I believe that... What?
I said, oh yes, please.
Yes. So, I believe that Chainbreaker was made from the Bloodblade that the Executioner used to try to kill Atriox. So it could be used as a symbol to remind him of his first defiance against the Covenant and his first attempt to see the origins of the Banished, pretty much.
Yeah. And that right there is exactly why I was kind of disappointed that it just so suddenly appeared. Because it symbolizes the Banished in a lot of way, and I would have loved to see like Atriox, maybe starting out with partial gravity hammer and that Executioner's sword, and then maybe like saying, I can combine these, or something like that. Eventually making Chainbreaker. I know he did it himself, but it would have been cool to see him do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was the only minor complaint we have of this issue.
Yep. So that's issue 3. Another solid issue for us. Great story by John Jackson Miller. Great art by Jonathan Waishak. These two have really become, like, I think there's some of my favorite creators, or writer and artist, that are currently contributing to Halo. Contributors.
Oh, definitely.
So I look forward to seeing them return in whatever their next project with Halo is. Moving on, we come to issue 4, the issue where Letvallier joins the Banished. This was written by Alex Irvine and drawn by Hayden Sherman. Again, a solid issue, but there was definitely some disappointments to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Originally, this issue was supposed to be drawn by Tristan Jones, but some scheduling conflicts unfortunately prevented that, which really sucks because in the months leading up to this issue, he released some amazing pieces of art that showed
amazing.
Yeah, they showed a mix of phenotypes from Reach and Halo 4/5. I think there might have even been the new H2A in there too. I mean, I'm sure it was going to be at some point, even if we didn't get it in an actual preview. But oh my God, was it beautiful, beautifully shaded, beautifully inked, and I would have loved to see it in color.
Oh, would I.
But sadly, we won't get to see that.
Yeah.
Still, given the slightly the tighter time frame, I don't want to rag on Hayden Sherman. He did a good job, I think, with the time schedule, the time he was given. But the fact that it was rushed clearly shows, I think.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. But moving on, there's definitely some high points to talk about. We already talked about the fact that a lot of the Sangheili leaders, Letvallier, Arkad, Nar, Kulul, have silver armor, and its potential connections to forms to certain roles and leadership in the Covenant. But there were some other things we wanted to talk about, such as, could Arkad have been one of those early Covenant warlords, before Jewel really kind of sucked up most of the available troops, let's say.
Yeah, I think he was like one of the first to gather a formidable fleet to go up against like the humans or the Arbiter, in that respect.
Agreed.
So which could symbolize that he could have been one of the first warlords to pop up in the post-war era after the signing of the Treaty of 2552.
Indeed. It definitely would be interesting to learn more about him and whatever happened to him. Like, did he ever join Jewel, perhaps? Or did he join a different Covenant? Or maybe did he just go on his own? Be interesting to find out.
Could be either or.
Indeed. Another thing to talk about was the fact that Atriox in this issue also already had Sangheili, which definitely seems to indicate that the hunting party from Halo Tales from Slipspace, where Atriox recruits... what were they called again?
They were called the Silent Shadows. They were the
Yep.
Sangheili Spec Ops units we saw in the... what was it called?
In Hunting Party. Or in Headhunters, too.
Yes, they were in Headhunters.
Yep. And, God, that was such an epic introduction for them back then. But, back on the topic. Yeah. This is why I'm glad to have you two. Because, I got the UNSC side, mostly. You got the Covenant side covered. Anyway. So, it definitely seems to indicate that Hunting Party, that the recruitment of the Silent Shadow, those members, happened before the recruitment of Letvallier, and thus before this issue. Because they even talk about in the issue the fact that Atriox only has the STV heavy Corvette at his disposal at that point. What was it called
the
again?
Elegy's Lament.
Thank you. So, and that's why he's going after Enduring Conviction and Letvallier specifically. So, some of those Sangheili, as you had indicated to me, could be of the Silent Shadow. It's sad we never really get a clear indication of that. It would have been kind of cool to see some of them appear again, but, you know.
Yeah.
There's always something where it's like, oh, this could have been. Anyway.
Yeah.
Next thing to talk about, I think, is the slip space jump. That was definitely, like, when Lit started saying, like, hey, charge the slip space drives, I'm like, oh my god, he's going to do it. He's going to pull a new Mombasa. He's going to do it. And I was not disappointed. Like, that was definitely among the issue. That was one of the more beautiful sections, and that was just so cool. But there's definitely some canon stuff to talk about there. Like, did the Covenant know about? Like, how long have the Covenant known about this? Like, me and Harspis had a bit of a debate about this on Twitter, but. You know, did they know about it for a long period? Did they learn about it in New Mombasa? Or even did they learn about it, the effects of an in-atmosphere slip-space jump during the events of First Strike? Because in there, Cortana does a in-atmo slip-space jump in a gas giant. I believe actually Threshold, but I might be wrong about that. It's been a while. But she does that, and, you know, obviously it would have had some effect, so maybe the Covenant could have seen what she did there and been like, hey, that's pretty effective. Then I think the last one, I'll let you take this one, definitely, because I think it's your specialty. Ansket 4.
Yeah, Ansket 4. Ansket 4 was a former Covenant hydroprocessing facility that was abandoned by the Empire, and the UNSC established a forward base there. Now, which begs the question, why? Why did they bother with this one planet? Because after Lev Valier initiated the slip space jump to the planet, he ran low of fuel, which could raise the question that the UNSC could have taken control of that facility in order to fuel gain fuel for their slip space drives.
Yeah, potentially that, or maybe even as part of a deal with the Swords of Sun Helios, perhaps. Any number of reasons, or even just for the sake of study of how Covenant ships, you know, the fuel types and fuel sources they use. It'd be interesting to see exactly what the origins of that, or the purpose, I should say, behind the UNSC's presence there was.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that wraps up issue 4, and we move on now to issue 5, the conclusion, the epic conclusion, I would say, to Halo Rise of Atriox. This was again written by John Jackson Miller and illustrated by Jonathan Wayshak, and I've already praised Mr. Wayshak's art throughout here in my own videos, but this issue just blew everything away in so many regards. The faces were so expressive, the action was beautiful. I said all this in my video, so I'm sorry to repeat myself to anyone who saw that, but I can't gush enough over this.
Oh yeah, it was one of the best. It was like one of the best, if not the best, issues in the entire series, next to only issue 3.
Amen. So there's a lot of it. So in this one, Atriox takes on another brute leader named Jovis. Now Jovis is a very interesting character, as he is basically of the Jiralhane Old Guard. He's a Jiralhane that's been fighting since before the Covenant found the brute species. He possibly as far back as what did you say when we were talking about this?
I believe that he could have been as old. He could have been fighting during the first immolation, the Jiralhane Civil War that pretty much
nuked them back to the Stone Age.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So go ahead.
Yeah, so he could have been that old, and even if he wasn't fighting that time, he could have been like in his 20s during the Covenant's time, and he's still really old at this time.
Indeed. So, but he's got to be like 80. He's got to be at least 80, but we don't really know how long-lived Jiralhane are. So, but regardless, you could see that he's definitely old in the issue. He's got that gray mane on him, and yet he's still a badass, jumping from pelicans onto the battle, or not pelicans, sorry, phantom dropships onto the battlefield. I imagine with some AC/DC playing, because that's just going to be the style, I think. So one thing I remember you bringing up was, and we kind of talked about this before, was the use of the Halo 3 Chieftain armor.
Yeah, I believe that like I said in my review of issue 5, I think that that 343 is overusing the Halo 3 models for the group chieftains. I wish they could have used a more variety in their chieftains.
Yeah,
like
it would
for
be
example,
cool. Yeah, the Reach ones, like you were saying in your review.
Oh yeah,
that it would be cool to see. But in general, actually, it would be kind because we got some details about the nature of the design of the Halo 3 Chieftain armor in what was it called? The most recent Grey Team story, Halo Envoy. So they talked about basically how it was the look was taken from a creature, an insect, I believe, native to the Jiralhanae homeworld of Doisak. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now, but I'll put it on the screen at some point. But during the actual editing. But I'd love to see like what some of the other ones were inspired by, like the War Chieftain armor, the gold armor in Halo 3. You can very clearly see some like Beetle-ish inspiration, and I'd love to see just, in general, just more Chieftain armor. Went off on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah. Next thing is, of course, his war pack was a nice mix of H2A and Halo 3 brutes. Notably, of course, Buka, the keeper of his legend. But that was cool to see a mix of phenotypes.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wish they could have done that in issue 4, but alas, we were treated with only the H2A Sung Healy.
And of course, I think the big thing that stood out among the lore community in this particular issue were the phantoms that Jovis has, as they seem to be able to carry wraiths.
Yeah, now, because we've seen these also in the prototype from Halo Legends.
Which definitely begs the question, well, doesn't beg the question, but it presents the question, is this just some artistic choice in both cases? Especially because Halo Legends is infamously known for its artistic liberties. Or is there actually a different type of phantom out there that is big enough to carry both troops and tanks? And, kind of a side note, how dangerous is it to carry troops and tanks in the same compartment?
Oh god, it'd be awful.
Exactly. Like, human tanks have to deal with exhaust, but god, what do Covenant tanks give off?
Ugh.
Exactly. But it would be interesting, like, if that is a unique variant. And of course, I think the big thing in this issue for everyone beyond just the lore community was the sadly very brief but still very welcome cameo by Pavium and Vortis.
Oh yeah, I was so shocked to see these two make an appearance. I really wanted them to appear in the series after Awakening Nightmare, because they were just a great pair together.
Oh my god, yes. And interesting too, they were fully geared up, which would seem to indicate that this issue took place probably midway through between the actual founding of the Banished in 2550-ish to them leaving for the Ark in 2558. So me and Nakai kind of talked about this prior to recording. We both kind of concur that it's probably set somewhere like 2555 or so.
Oh yeah, probably around that time.
Yeah.
If not a little sooner or later.
Yep. But definitely something to think about. So I think that covers everything we wanted to talk about with issue 5. Do you have anything to add?
No, just as that was a great issue. I really think that this was like a better payoff than Escalation would ever have done with its crappy.
A lot of things were better than that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But even still, this was such a powerful way to end the series. I would have liked to see more. I would have liked to see like the introduction of Colony. I would have liked to see an issue about how they found the coordinates to the Ark. Hell, you can even like cross that over. Like maybe Colony was looking for the Ark, and then Atriox comes across him, and they strike up a deal. But,
oh yeah, that would have made a great issue. That would actually be a great set piece of how Halo Wars 2 started.
Indeed. But overall, it's still like it was just a great way to end the series. and it kind of, it was an actual ending. Like anything else, any additional issues beyond this, as much as I want them, would kind of ruin the ending in a lot of ways, because you get this very powerful ending with Atriox going, "This is the time of the banished," and anything beyond that, much as I want those stories eventually for this comic series, would kind of ruin or water down that ending.
Oh yeah, it would have, definitely.
And that's pretty much our thoughts on the 5 issues. There's definitely some extras to talk about. All the cover art was done by Alexi. Let me see here, Alexi Briklot, I think. I hope I pronounced that right. And the covers are all absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, they were just fantastic.
Yeah. And one thing I really loved about this, and we kind of touched on in our talk about the first issue, Atriox is never the focus of any issue, or never the main character of any issue. It's always someone else. It's always perceiving Atriox through the eyes of others. Issue 1, we see it through the eyes of the UNSC. Issue 2, we see it through the eyes of the Executioner. Issue 3, through Decimus, I would say, is probably our main focus. Issue 4 is obviously Led Valir, and Issue 5 was primarily Jovis.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, and we got all these different perspectives that inform us who Atriox is, what he believes. And it's a very creative way, it's a very interesting way, and I think it's the most appropriate way to have approached Atriox as a character, especially right now. So I think that wraps up all our thoughts on Halo Rise of Atriox. Overall, an amazing series. Did you have anything else you want to add?
Oh, no. It was just one of my favorite comic issues of all time.
Yeah. And I'm sure that has nothing to do with the fact that it's all Covenant-focused, or Covenant species-focused.
What can I say?
I'm just going to bust your balls, that's all. I mean, you are Covenant Canon. I'd be disappointed if that wasn't a main focus for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, again, I got to gush over the fact that you did some amazing comic reviews for this series. You really put out a lot of effort that just, honestly, like, I get really immersed in those reviews because of those added sound effects.
Well, thank you very much. It really was challenging, definitely, but it was well worth it in the end, in my opinion.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I hope you all decide to check him out, too, because that level of effort bleeds through to all his other works, which have just been amazing. It's been a lot of fun seeing your shit evolve over the years since you launched. So, yeah, props to you, man.
Thank you very much.
You've really set yourself apart, not just with the Covenant, not just because you're doing Covenant, but how you approach your videos. So,
well, thank you very much. And it really comes down to you, because you are the main inspiration for my channel, and you've inspired other people to do that too. And I encourage, for all you guys out there, I encourage you to do the same thing I did. Well, not literally the same thing I did,
yeah.
but
that's his market. Don't you dare.
But I encourage you guys to do what it is that you guys feel that you guys can do. That's something that makes you, that really catches your eye, that really catches your attention, and I encourage you to share it to other people. That's how I started, and look at me now. I'm talking to my idol here. Come on.
Amen, brother. So, last thing to really talk about is, if you missed out on any of these issues or weren't really interested in picking it up, but maybe you are now, there's a hardcover collection coming out on May 15th of this year. And I know I'm going to pick it up because I always pick up everything that's Halo related. But if you want to pick up Rise of Atriox, that's going to probably be the best way to do it. And yeah, I think that's it. This has been fun, dude.
Yeah, it was fun. It was honestly a blast doing this with you.
Yep. And I hope you all enjoyed watching. Yeah. So, outros now. This has been Halo Canon.
And this is Covenant Canon.
And we are signing off. Until next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribing, and sharing it around. You are the reason I get to keep doing this, so thank you. Profusely, thank you.